Today we're talking about the silver dollar fern. So this fern is actually in the maidenhair family, but it is way easier than the maidenhair fern. If you love the look of the maidenhair fern, but maybe you haven't had enough luck with it yet, or maybe it's a little bit too high maintenance for you, this is the girl for you, okay? One of my favorite things about this plant is that it has these very thin, dainty stems, but it has pretty large foliage that's so light and airy. Even when you walk by it, like the wind as you walk by will make it like dance, sort of, you know? So I really love it for the movement, and the new growth just looks so good. Anyway, let's get into the care instructions for this character. First of all, we're gonna need bright light, right? So if you don't know what I mean by bright light, make sure to check out my lighting video right here on the YouTube channel. Right up near, it doesn't need to be like up in the glass, like touching the glass. You can move it back, you know, a couple of feet, but it does need a very wide view of the sky from any window that does not face north, okay? So that's how you're going to achieve bright light. Next, we're gonna talk about watering, okay? Because everyone knows with ferns, and maidenhair ferns in particular, it's very important to keep up on your watering. This one is pretty darn forgiving in my experience. But let's talk about this for a second. So with watering, you're gonna wanna come by every few days, you're gonna check the topsoil, okay? Just stick your finger in there and touch that topsoil, just right on the surface. And if it's dry, you wanna give it a really good, thorough soak. If it's wet, wait a day or two, come back and check. If it has dried out, then it's a good time to really give it a good thorough soak. Remember, whenever we're watering our plants, we want to soak them all the way year round, okay? We're never gonna water just a little bitty much. Next, let's talk about fertilizing. So during the spring and summer months, this plant is actively growing, okay? And it's a great time early in the spring to give it a good dose of fertilizer. Now, it kind of depends on what fertilizer you use. If you're using a liquid soluble fertilizer, you're gonna be using it a lot more frequently than if you use like a granule fertilizer. Just follow directions on the packaging. They don't need a special fertilizer. Something general purpose will do the trick. They're not super heavy feeders, but during the growing season, they will benefit from a little extra nutrients. They're not cold hardy, so if you're going to keep them outdoors, make sure that they are in full shade and that they come in when it gets below 60 degrees. Now, if you are going to have it outside during the spring and summer months when it's nice and warm, you get a ton of new growth, the light will be beautiful. Make sure to keep up on the watering, because when they are outside, they're going to dry out way faster than they are going to indoors, okay? So keep that in mind if you're going to be putting these outside. When to repot, okay? This is another big question I get. So generally, we want to repot when roots are coming out the bottom right here, or every other year, okay? So every 2 years, or when the roots are coming out the bottom. Now, I recommend repotting during the spring. Okay, early in the springtime is a great time to repot because you have the whole spring months and all the summer months while it's we have those long days to sort of recover from that repotting. Okay, I don't recommend repotting during the winter time, especially with maidenhair style ferns, because they don't particularly enjoy being repotted and they can kind of spiral out of control, a little bit kind of like ficus in that way. But that's going to do it for the silver dollar fern. If you have any questions about this plant, make sure to leave a comment in the section below, or you can always reach out to me on Instagram or Tanner the Planter, or on Facebook at Tanner the Planter.